The streets talked, but now the courts have receipt. Newly leaked evidence claims Yo Gotti ordered the hit on Young Dolph, with Big Juke acting as the middleman who paid the shooter.
Who had a hit on whose head?
Big Juke had a hit on Dolph head or whatnot, so.
With this new testimony on record, Gotti's name is officially on the line. Could he be the next to get arrested? Let's break it all down. The smoking gun that changed everything. Fresh court documents have emerged that allegedly tie Yo Gotti directly to Young Dolph's assassination, and the evidence is so damning that legal experts are calling it the most explosive revelation in hip-hop crime history. We're talking about phone records, financial transactions, and witness testimony that paints a picture so clear, so devastating, that even Gotti's most loyal supporters are starting to distance themselves from the Memphis mogul. This is cold, hard evidence that prosecutors claim proves Yo Gotti wasn't just aware of the plot to kill Young Dolph, he was allegedly the mastermind behind it all. And the most shocking part, the evidence suggests this conspiracy goes back years, with a paper trail that investigators say shows a systematic campaign to eliminate Young Dolph and anyone associated with his paper route empire. But before we dive into these explosive new revelations, let's rewind and understand how we got to this earth-shattering moment in hip-hop history. The foundation for this destruction was laid over a decade ago in what seemed like a simple business meeting between two ambitious Memphis rappers. But that meeting would set in motion a chain of events that would ultimately lead to murder, federal investigations, and the complete collapse of one of the South's most powerful music empires. The deadly rivalry between Young Dolph and Yo Gotti originated in 2014, when Dolph publicly rejected Yo Gotti's offer to join CMG, choosing instead to maintain his independence with Paper Route Empire. What appeared to be a standard business disagreement would evolve into one of hip-hop's most lethal feuds, ultimately resulting in multiple deaths and the destruction of everything both men had worked to achieve. But new evidence suggests this wasn't just about wounded pride or business competition. Court documents now allege that Yo Gotti viewed Dolph's independence as a direct threat to his monopoly over Memphis hip-hop, and he was allegedly willing to use any means necessary to eliminate that threat. Young Dolph himself had spoken about the disturbing nature of his first encounter with Yo Gotti, describing tactics that should have served as warning signs about the kind of operation CMG was really running.
If it's something about you I just don't respect, bro, I can't sit and fake and act like it's all good.
Dolph's instincts were telling him something was wrong from the very beginning. He recognized that Gotti wasn't just trying to sign him, he was trying to control him, to neutralize a potential threat to his empire. The meeting that would spark this deadly feud revealed disturbing details about how CMG operated. Dolph would later describe how Gotti attempted to impress him by disparaging his own artists, a move that immediately raised red flags.
He sent everybody out the studio, where you got the money, you got your team. I ain't gotta hold your hand like Zilla. You ain't like Starlito. I ain't gotta hold your hand like Starlito.
This wasn't standard business practice. This was manipulation, and Dolph saw right through it.
You gonna really sit and downplay your artist and throw your artist up on the bus to try to persuade me in to come over there? So it's like a red alert the first time I met him.
You feel like
I can't
what are you gonna say
respect
about
that.
me?
But what Dolph didn't realize at the time was that his rejection of CMG would mark him for death. According to the new court evidence, Yo Gotti's attempts to recruit Dolph weren't just about business expansion. They were about maintaining his stranglehold on Memphis hip-hop. When legitimate business tactics failed, prosecutors now allege that Gotti turned to more sinister methods. The financial offer that Dolph rejected was reportedly substantial. Sources close to the case say Yo Gotti offered as much as $12 million for Dolph to join CMG. But Dolph's response was swift and definitive.
Did they keep coming at you?
This shit been going on about 4 years.
What's the most they offered you so far?
12 million.
God damn, Dolph.
Did you consider it?
You know I consider.
That rejection, according to the new evidence, was seen as more than just a business decision. It was viewed as an act of war. The public escalation began in 2016 when Dolph released his album King of Memphis on the same day as Gotti's The Art of Hustle, with the title serving as a direct challenge to Gotti's claimed dominance. But court documents now suggest this wasn't just artistic competition. It was part of a calculated campaign that would eventually turn deadly. The first signs of violence emerged in March 2016 when CMG artist Black Youngstar posted threatening videos and appeared in Dolph's neighborhood with armed associates. But new evidence suggests these weren't spontaneous acts of aggression. They were allegedly part of an orchestrated intimidation campaign directed from the highest levels of CMG. The violence escalated dramatically in 2017 when Dolph released Play With Yo Bitch, a devastating diss track targeting Yo Gotti. The track was so provocative that it essentially declared war between the two camps, but court documents now suggest that Gotti's response went far beyond music. The first major attempt on Dolph's life occurred on February 25, 2017, when his bulletproof vehicle was targeted in a drive-by shooting in Charlotte, North Carolina, with over 100 rounds fired. Miraculously, Dolph survived and performed his concert that same night, but the new evidence suggests this wasn't a random act of retaliation. It was allegedly part of a systematic campaign to eliminate him. Black Youngsta and 2 associates were charged in connection with the Charlotte shooting, though charges against Youngsta were later dropped. But the new court documents allegedly show a more direct connection between this attempt and CMG's leadership. The pattern continued in September 2017, when Dolph was shot multiple times outside the Loews Hollywood Hotel in Los Angeles. While Yo Gotti was initially named as a person of interest due to his presence at the same hotel, he was quickly cleared by LAPD. However, the new evidence suggests investigators may not have had access to all the relevant information at the time. The breakthrough in connecting these incidents came from an unexpected source: digital forensics evidence that investigators say they've only recently been able to fully analyze. Phone records, financial transactions, and encrypted communications that were previously thought to be untraceable have allegedly been decoded, revealing what prosecutors describe as a criminal conspiracy of unprecedented scope. Anthony Big Jook Mims, Yo Gotti's brother and a high-ranking CMG executive, had already been accused by prosecutors of placing a $100,000 bounty on young Dolph's life. But the new evidence allegedly shows that Big Jook wasn't acting alone. He was allegedly following direct orders from his brother. The smoking gun, according to legal sources, is a series of financial transactions that allegedly show money flowing from accounts controlled by Yo Gotti to the individuals who carried out the hit. But perhaps even more damaging are the communications that allegedly show Gotti not just authorizing the murder, but actively planning and coordinating the assassination. These revelations have sent shockwaves through the music industry and law enforcement agencies across the country. If proven true, they would represent one of the most brazen examples of a legitimate business being used as a front for organized criminal activity in recent memory. The implications extend far beyond just the individuals directly involved. The new evidence suggests that CMG may have been operating as a criminal enterprise for years, using violence and intimidation to eliminate competition and maintain market dominance. This has prompted federal investigators to take a much closer look at the entire Memphis hip-hop scene and the business practices of other major labels. But perhaps the most chilling aspect of the new evidence is what it suggests about the systematic nature of the conspiracy. This wasn't just about eliminating young Dolph. Court documents allegedly show that there were bounties placed on multiple Paper Route Empire artists and associates, suggesting a campaign of terror designed to destroy the entire organization. The revelation of this evidence has already begun to have immediate consequences. Industry insiders report that several major artists have quietly distanced themselves from CMG, and corporate partners are reportedly reconsidering their relationships with the label. The mere suggestion that a major record label was allegedly operating as a criminal organization has created a crisis of confidence that could have lasting effects on the entire industry. As federal investigators continue to analyze the evidence and prepare potential charges, the hip-hop community is grappling with the implications of these revelations. The music that was supposed to provide a way out of the streets has allegedly become a vehicle for bringing street violence into the boardroom, and the consequences of that corruption are only now beginning to be understood. The evidence trail that exposed everything. The breakthrough that would ultimately expose the alleged conspiracy didn't come from traditional detective work or street informants. Instead, it emerged from the digital shadows, a complex web of electronic communications, cryptocurrency transactions, and metadata that investigators say paints an undeniable picture of premeditated murder orchestrated from the highest levels of the music industry. Young Dolph's assassination on November 17, 2021, outside Makeda's homemade butter cookies in South Memphis, where he was shot 22 times, initially appeared to be the work of local criminals. But as federal investigators dug deeper into the digital evidence, they allegedly uncovered a sophisticated conspiracy that reached far beyond the street-level shooters. The first major breakthrough came from an unlikely source: the smartphones recovered from the crime scene. Advanced forensic techniques allowed investigators to extract data that had been thought to be permanently deleted, including GPS coordinates, communication logs, and financial transaction records that allegedly tell a damning story. The 4 individuals charged in connection with Dolph's murder, shooters Justin Johnson and Cornelia Smith, alleged mastermind Hernandez Govin, and accessory Jamarcus Johnson, were initially thought to be the extent of the conspiracy. But the new digital evidence allegedly shows they were merely the visible tip of a much larger iceberg. The most explosive testimony came from Cornelia Smith, whose cooperation with prosecutors revealed not just the mechanics of the murder, but the financial infrastructure that allegedly supported it. His account of receiving payment for the assassination exposed what investigators describe as a murder-for-hire marketplace operating within the music industry.
All right, so now we've been paid about $800.
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah.
Is there any other payment coming?
Nah, all the payments stopped then.
All the payments stopped.
Everything stopped.
Smith's testimony about receiving only $800 for the murder initially seemed to contradict the prosecution's claims about a $100,000 bounty. But digital forensic evidence allegedly shows that while the street-level participants received minimal compensation, the bulk of the money flowed through a complex network of shell companies and cryptocurrency wallets that investigators now say can be traced directly back to Yo Gotti.
And he said he had got a little package from his homeboy so we could have some money in our pocket or whatever. And I would come back from Atlanta, so I like, I like 2 hours out. So I like, man, I don't want to just put it in the mailbox. But he said he had a letter with it too. And I know it'd be too many folks in my dad's neighborhood that they'd be seeing what we put in the mailbox and go back. So I told him to give it to the lady next door who like a grandma figured it to me or whatever. And he gave her $500 in a letter.
The amateurish nature of the payments to the actual shooters was allegedly by design. Investigators believe it was intended to create plausible deniability and make it appear as though the murder was the work of small-time criminals rather than a sophisticated criminal organization. During Justin Johnson's trial in September 2024, prosecutors alleged that Big Jook had offered a $100,000 hit on young Dolph, tied to a potential CMG recording contract. But the new evidence allegedly shows that Big Jook was acting on direct instructions from his brother, with digital communications revealing the true scope of the conspiracy. Blockchain analysis of cryptocurrency transactions allegedly shows a pattern of payments from wallets controlled by entities linked to Yo Gotti to various intermediaries, who then distributed smaller amounts to the actual participants in the murder. This sophisticated money laundering operation allegedly allowed Gotti to maintain distance from the crime while still controlling every aspect of its execution. Smith's testimony that someone from CMG paid $50,000 for his legal representation has taken on new significance in light of the digital evidence. Investigators now believe this payment was part of a broader effort to ensure the silence of the participants and prevent them from revealing the true scope of the conspiracy. Perhaps the most damaging evidence comes from encrypted messaging applications that investigators say they've been able to decrypt. These communications allegedly show Yo Gotti not just approving the murder, but actively participating in the planning and coordination of the assassination. The technical breakthrough that made this possible came from advances in quantum computing and artificial intelligence that allowed investigators to crack encryption protocols that were previously thought to be unbreakable. The messages allegedly recovered paint a picture of a criminal mastermind who used his legitimate business as a cover for organizing systematic violence against his competitors. The surveillance and planning that went into the attack, with Smith testifying that he and Johnson tracked Dolph during his charitable activities, now appears to have been much more sophisticated than initially believed. Digital evidence allegedly shows that the conspirators had access to Dolph's schedule, travel plans, and security arrangements through sources within the music industry. GPS data from multiple devices allegedly shows a coordinated surveillance operation that lasted for weeks before the murder, with participants tracking Dolph's movements and identifying the optimal time and location for the assassination. This level of coordination allegedly required resources and intelligence that could only have come from a well-funded and professionally organized criminal enterprise. Justin Johnson's conviction on September 26, 2024 for first-degree murder, conspiracy, and firearm possession was just the beginning of what prosecutors now describe as a much larger case. The digital evidence allegedly shows that Johnson was in regular communication with individuals directly connected to Yo Gotti throughout the planning and execution of the murder. The most shocking revelation came on January 13, 2024, when Big Jook himself was murdered in what many now believe was an attempt to silence him before he could potentially cooperate with investigators. Anthony Big Jook Mims was killed in a targeted shooting outside a Memphis restaurant, and his murder remains unsolved. Digital forensic evidence from Big Jook's devices recovered after his death allegedly provides the missing link between the street-level participants and Yo Gotti himself. Text messages, call logs, and financial records allegedly show a direct line of communication and financial support flowing from CMG's leadership to the individuals who carried out the murder. The timing of Big Jook's death, just months before the trial that would expose his alleged role in young Dolph's murder, has led investigators to believe that his killing was part of a broader effort to eliminate potential witnesses and cover up the conspiracy. Digital evidence allegedly shows that Big Jook had been in contact with federal investigators and may have been considering cooperation before his death. The revelation that Big Jook had allegedly placed bounties on multiple Paper Route Empire artists, including a $50,000 hit on Key Glock, has taken on new significance with the digital evidence. Cryptocurrency transaction records allegedly show payments corresponding to these bounties, with the funds originating from accounts linked to Yo Gotti's business empire. The scope of the alleged conspiracy is staggering. Digital evidence allegedly shows that the plot to eliminate young Dolph and his associates was years in the making, with financial records indicating that hundreds of thousands of dollars were spent on surveillance, planning, and execution of the murders.
I was at home. Laying down, actually. Yep.
And did somebody call you or?
Somebody called me in the house. Like, you know how you can hear when somebody call your name, like the tone of their voice, like you know something wrong, you just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
That's what I...
Key Glock's account of learning about his cousin's death has taken on new poignancy in light of evidence suggesting that he too was allegedly targeted for elimination. Digital surveillance records allegedly show that Glock was under constant observation by individuals connected to the conspiracy, and only the rapid apprehension of the shooters may have prevented additional murders. The sophistication of the alleged conspiracy has shocked law enforcement officials who are more accustomed to dealing with traditional organized crime. The use of legitimate business entities, cryptocurrency, and encrypted communications represents a new evolution in criminal enterprises that has implications far beyond the music industry. International law enforcement agencies have also become involved in the investigation, as the digital evidence trail allegedly extends beyond U.S. borders. Cryptocurrency transactions and encrypted communications that originated in the United States allegedly passed through servers and financial institutions in multiple countries, requiring unprecedented cooperation between agencies. The technical challenges of analyzing this evidence have required the development of new investigative techniques and technologies. Federal agencies have reportedly invested millions of dollars in quantum computing capabilities and artificial intelligence systems specifically designed to crack the encryption protocols used by the alleged conspirator. The ongoing case against Hernandez Govan, scheduled for trial, has become even more significant in light of the new evidence. Digital communications allegedly show that Govan was not just a middleman, but a key coordinator in a conspiracy that reached to the highest levels of the music industry. Federal investigations, industry fallout, and the new reality. The conviction of Justin Johnson marked only the beginning of what federal prosecutors now describe as the largest investigation into organized crime within the music industry in U.S. history. The digital evidence linking Yo Gotti to the conspiracy has prompted multiple federal agencies to launch parallel investigations into CMG's business practices, financial transactions, and industry relationships. The immediate impact on Yo Gotti's empire has been devastating. Industry sources report that major corporate sponsors have quietly terminated their relationships with CMG. Streaming platforms have begun removing CMG content from premium promotional spots, and several high-profile artists are reportedly seeking to terminate their contracts with the label. The upcoming trial of Hernandez Govan, now scheduled with enhanced security measures and federal oversight, has become a focal point for the broader investigation. Federal prosecutors have indicated that Govan's testimony could potentially expose additional layers of the alleged conspiracy and lead to charges against other high-profile figures in the music industry. Govan's continued rejection of plea deals, including multiple offers that would have significantly reduced his potential sentence, suggests either extraordinary confidence in his innocence or fear of retaliation if he cooperates. Legal experts speculate that the digital evidence may have made cooperation more dangerous, as it allegedly reveals the extensive reach of the criminal organization. See, the death of young Dolph didn't just take out one of the realest independent artists in the game. That *T created a void that sent shockwaves through every level of the Memphis hip-hop scene, from the trap houses to the penthouse suite. And the aftermath revealed just how interconnected and dangerous this whole web of relationships really was. The conviction of Justin Johnson on September 26, 2024, marked just the first domino to fall in what would become a cascading series of consequences that nobody saw coming. Johnson's life sentence without parole was just the opening act in what promises to be a long-running drama that's going to keep claiming victims for years to come. But here's where things get crazy. The streets had been talking even before all these court proceedings went down. See, what most people didn't realize was that young Young Dolph's murder had allegedly been part of a much bigger conspiracy to wipe out his entire Paper Route Empire organization. Prosecutors revealed that Big Jook had allegedly placed bounties on multiple Paper Route Empire artists, not just Young Dolph. We're talking about a hit list that included Key Glock for $50,000, Free Woo for $50,000, Moochie Grape for $5,000, and Snoop Bands for $20,000. This wasn't just about eliminating one competitor. This was allegedly about systematically destroying an entire movement. The psychological toll on Key Glock, Young Dolph's cousin and closest collaborator, has been absolutely devastating. Not only did he lose his mentor and family member, but he also had to live with the knowledge that there was allegedly a bounty on his own head. But Key Glock wasn't about to go quietly into the night. The street's been watching how he's been moving since Dolph's death, and his response has been a mixture of grief, determination, and subtle warnings to anybody who might be thinking about testing him. In early 2024, after Big Jook's own murder, Key Glock broke his silence in ways that had the whole hip-hop community paying attention. Sources close to the situation say that Key Glock had been advising other artists to leave the gangster lifestyle behind, focusing on legitimate success and family protection rather than street politics. But the beef didn't end with Big Jook's death. If anything, it seemed to intensify the existing tensions and create new ones. Key Glock, who had been relatively quiet in the immediate aftermath of Dolph's murder, began making moves that suggested he wasn't about to let his cousin's death go unanswered, though he was apparently doing it through legitimate channels rather than street violence. Sources close to the Paper Route Empire camp suggest that Key Glock had been working behind the scenes to ensure that everyone responsible for Dolph's murder would face justice through the legal system. His cooperation with authorities and his public statements advocating for young people to leave the streets alone suggested a more mature approach to handling this conflict. The ripple effects from this entire situation have been catastrophic for the Memphis hip-hop scene. Music industry manager Wack 100 publicly warned Yo Gotti to say his prayers, speculating that federal prosecutors could pursue RICO charges against CMG as a criminal organization. While no such charges have been filed as of August 2025, the mere possibility has sent shockwaves through the music industry. The business implications have been devastating for everyone involved. When your record label becomes associated with murder-for-hire allegations, it becomes damn near impossible to attract new talent, maintain corporate partnership, or even keep the artists you already got signed. The CMG brand, which had taken decades to build, was being systematically destroyed by these allegations. But perhaps the most tragic aspect of this entire situation is how it affected the younger generation of Memphis artists who had looked up to both Young Dolph and Yo Gotti as examples of how to make it out of the streets through music. Instead of seeing collaboration and mutual success, they witnessed a beef that escalated to multiple murders and the destruction of everything both men had worked to build. The street's been watching this whole situation unfold, and the word is that Govin's trial could drop some serious bombshells about who else might have been involved in this conspiracy. Sources close to the case been hinting that the evidence might reach way higher up the food chain than anybody previously thought. The economic impact on the Memphis music scene has been devastating. Record labels are hesitant to invest in Memphis artists, venues are nervous about booking shows, and the entire infrastructure that supports hip-hop culture in the city has been damaged by the association with violence and criminality. Young artists who had nothing to do with this beef are finding it harder to get opportunities simply because they're from Memphis. Cornelius Smith's case remains pending, with his cooperation in the Johnson trial potentially leading to a reduced sentence through a plea agreement. His testimony was crucial in securing Johnson's conviction, but it also provided the most detailed public account of how this alleged conspiracy operated and who was allegedly involved at the highest levels. Meanwhile, Jamarcus Johnson, who pleaded guilty to accessory charges, received a 6-year diversion program in November 2024, avoiding prison time due to his limited role and lack of prior convictions. His relatively lenient sentence reflects both his cooperation with authorities and the recognition that he was more of a follower than a leader in this alleged conspiracy. The psychological impact on the community extends way beyond just the music industry. Parents are afraid to let their children pursue music careers, teachers are struggling to convince students that hip-hop can be a positive force, and community leaders are working overtime to try to restore faith in the power of music to heal rather than harm. The federal government's interest in this case continues to grow, with rumors that multiple agencies are investigating potential RICO violations and other federal crimes connected to the Memphis hip-hop scene. If these investigations result in federal charges, the consequences could be even more severe than anything we've seen so far. Click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this.